Hey everyone, this is David Brown with the migration update for April 16th, 2024 from the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. It was a beautiful morning out at the Braddock Bay East Spit where I was joined by Phil and Jen, our visitors from Ottawa. On the walk out the spit, we stopped to observe this mute swan on a nest. The sand bridge between the East Spit and the barrier island continues to get narrower, so I would recommend at least waterproof boots like muck boots if you're going to try to get onto the barrier island. With it being a sunny morning, we had beautiful light on the birds. Here we have a male green-winged teal. Here we have a shorebird. This is a large plover, and we see double breast bands, making this a killdeer. Here we have a small gull that we see is coming into the black head of breeding plumage. Has a somewhat thin black bill, overall pointed wingtips with some black at the very tips of the primary feathers, and we see pinkish legs. This is a Bonaparte's gull. Here we have a large tern. We see those very pointed wings, a black cap to the head, and a thick reddish-orange bill. This is a Caspian tern, the largest tern in the world. And here's two Caspian terns standing on the sandbar together, showing off their sleek black legs. Here we have three small ducks. On the middle and right birds, we see a white crescent on the face, and the female is just kind of plain overall. These are blue-winged teal. Here we have a shorebird, and this one is a sandpiper. We see a somewhat long decurved bill and some black coming into the belly as it enters breeding plumage. This is a dunlin. Here we have a small duck with a white patch that wraps all the way around the back of the head, and also a large white strip on the inner wing. This is a male bufflehead. From the East Spit, we had a total of 51 species. I've been hawk watching for a long time, but I'm still experiencing new things. I think this is the first time anyone's ever whipped out a portable grill and cooked me breakfast. And it was a delicious breakfast of bacon, egg, and cheese, and pear, so thank you so much to Phil and Jen. In case you missed yesterday's video, Phil and Jen are visitors from Ottawa who came all the way down to the Rochester area to spend a few days hawk watching with us here at Braddock Bay. Here's a photo we took yesterday. From left to right, we have Jen, Kim, Phil, and I. And Phil and Jen have their own YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to it. They have a lot of videos about RV lifestyle as well as birding, so check it out. Many visitors get confused by the orientation of Braddock Bay because you would think looking out towards the lake would be north, but in reality it's not. So now we have a nice big compass that showed up overnight so no one will get confused about directions. Today started out with blue skies with a thin layer of high clouds moving in from the west. Overall, the wind started out westerly and then shifted to the north, and even though they were relatively light, it was enough to push the flight inland. So in the mid-afternoon, we moved over to Frisbee Hill to catch a broad-winged flight over there. From the platform in the morning, we saw this sandhill crane flying around in the distance. Here's an osprey carrying a huge fish back to its nest. Here we have a small buteo with brown banding underneath. We see a dark trailing edge to the wings and a dark tail with a white band. This is an adult broad-winged hawk, and this is one of the few that came close enough for photos today. From the platform in the morning, we had a decent flight of broadwings and turkey vultures coming through in small groups, mainly off to our left towards the parkway. Some were medium distance, others were farther in. And we enjoyed watching these two Caspian terns chase each other around for a few minutes. From the Hawkwatch platform, we had 50 species today. Around 1:30, we made the move over to Frisbee Hill Park since we had completely lost the flight line from the platform. And getting over there, we scoped even farther inland, in past the cell phone tower, and were able to pick up some groups of migrating broadwings with kettles as large as 150. So we ended up with a pretty impressive total for the day. The first big day for broad-winged hawks with around 1,000 total, but really the views were really distant and unsatisfying. Here we have a hawk that's shaped like a flying cross with a long tail and long wings with rounded tips. We see a large head and teardrop streaking, mostly concentrated on the upper breast. This is a juvenile Cooper's hawk. Why did the turkey cross the road? Well, I don't know. I only know about hawks. Here's an immature bald eagle that I thought was in a pretty interesting plumage. We can see that it's an older immature. It's mostly getting the white head and white tail of adults, but it's got these really interesting white patches here in the secondaries. It almost looks like a red-headed woodpecker pattern or something, so it was pretty distinctive as it flew over with the sunshine shining through those white feathers. And the ospreys have returned to the Frisbee Hill cell phone tower where it looks like they're planning to nest again. From Frisbee Hill, we had a total of 33 species. Taking a look at the hawk count report for our migrant raptor totals, today we had 192 turkey vultures, 7 bald eagles, 3 northern harriers, 8 sharp-shinned hawks, 938 broad-winged hawks, 7 red-tailed hawks, and 2 American kestrels, for a total of 1,157 migrating raptors. That brings the April total to 15,699 and the season total to 23,819. Taking a look at the forecast for tomorrow, it's looking like periods of rain with the high in the low 50s and winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour. So it's an unfavorable wind direction that's fairly strong, and it seems like rain's going to be moving in by around 11 or noon, and that may end the count early. So wouldn't expect much activity tomorrow. For Thursday, they're calling for rain showers early and then overcast with a high in the upper 50s, winds west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. So it's a decent wind direction. We'll just have to see what ends up happening with that rain, but I would expect perhaps some migration as long as it's not too rainy. And for Friday, they're calling for a steady light rain in the morning and then showers in the afternoon with a high in the low 60s and winds south-southwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. So that's a good wind direction and fairly strong. So I think we may get some raptors pushing through even if it's a bit gloomy and rainy. We'll keep an eye on it as we get closer. And then as we head into the weekend, it's looking like more sunshine and decent westerly winds. So if that forecast holds, we could get some big days over the weekend. So we'll cross our fingers on that. We also had a reporter from Spectrum News come out to the platform today, so we'll keep an eye out for that story in the near future. And what a beautiful day of birding it turned out to be, getting out to the East Spit early and getting to take Phil and Jen on a little tour of a place that they've seen many times in my videos. And we had a lot of really nice looks at ducks and other water-type birds, and it was definitely worth getting up early. The hawk flight was a little frustrating today. From the platform, the birds were mostly distant inland, and then when we eventually made the switch to Frisbee Hill, the birds were just as distant in from there. So we ended up with a pretty impressive number overall, but certainly not satisfying looks, and most of the birds, unless you had a spotting scope, you couldn't even really see them. So we'll hope for better looks at broadwings in the near future. We're just coming into the big time for them, and anytime we get decent winds in the next couple weeks, we can get thousands of broadwings in a day. So hope to see you out soon at the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.